Why is this parasite here? Get the hell out. The words hit me like a slap across the face. I stood frozen in the doorway of my own beach house, my weekend bag still hanging from my shoulder, staring at my brother-in-law. His face was twisted with contempt, his finger pointing at me like I was some unwanted intruder. Behind him, I could see his parents, his two brothers, and what looked like extended family sprawled across my furniture, drinking from my glasses. Their shoes kicked off on my white carpet. My name is Claire, and I'm 32 years old. I work as a marine biologist in Charleston, South Carolina, where I've spent the last decade building a career I'm proud of. The beach house where I was currently being screamed at wasn't just any property, it was mine. I'd bought it 3 years ago with money I'd saved and invested carefully, a reward for years of grueling work and sacrifice. It sat right on the coast near Myrtle Beach, a 2-hour drive from Charleston, and it was my sanctuary. But looking at Kevin's furious face, you'd think I was the trespasser. "Excuse me," I managed to say, my voice steady despite the rage burning inside. "You heard me," he snapped. Kevin had been married to my older sister Jennifer for 5 years. "We're having a family gathering here. Nobody invited you." He blinked, trying to process the absurdity. "Kevin, this is my house. I own it." "Yeah. Well, Jennifer said we could use it this weekend." He shot back, crossing his arms. "So unless you want to ruin everyone's good time, you should leave." I looked past him, searching for my sister. She was by the kitchen island, eyes glued to her phone, refusing to meet my gaze. She knew. She absolutely knew I was planning to come this weekend. I'd mentioned it 2 days ago during our mother's birthday dinner. She'd smiled and nodded, told me to have a great time, and then handed out keys to Kevin's entire family like it was a vacation rental. "Jennifer," I called out, my voice cutting through the chatter. "Can we talk?" She finally looked up. "Expression neutrale. Claire, I didn't think you'd actually come. You're always so busy with work. I told you I was coming. I said I needed this weekend to decompress." She shrugged. "Well, Kevin's family needed a place to stay, and this house just sits empty most of the time. I figured you wouldn't mind." "You figured wrong." Kevin stepped closer, jaw tight. "We've got 15 people here who drove hours to get here. You're one person. Do the math. Go back to Charleston." The audacity dripped from every word. Some of his family looked uncomfortable. Others smirked like this was entertainment. Kevin's mother even shook her head at me, as if I was the unreasonable one. Something inside me shifted. I'd spent my whole life being the accommodating one, the sister who didn't make waves, the daughter who kept the peace. I'd loaned Jennifer money, babysat her kids, even helped Kevin's brother move last summer. And this was my reward. I smiled, not warmly, but the kind of smile that comes when you realize you're done playing nice. "Sure," I said calmly. "I'm leaving." Kevin looked surprised, as if expecting a fight. Good. Finally. Some sense. I turned toward the door, then paused. "Just so we're clear, Kevin, you're saying you want me to leave my own property? That's exactly what I'm saying. And Jennifer, you're okay with this. It's just one weekend." "Claire, don't be dramatic." I nodded slowly, my mind already racing. "Okay then. Enjoy your weekend." I walked out, leaving the door open behind me. As I got into my car, I could hear laughter from inside the house. They thought they'd won. They had no idea what was coming. 3 minutes later, I pulled into a gas station parking lot. My hands shook, not from fear, but from pure adrenaline. I called my lawyer, my property manager, and someone else I hadn't thought I'd ever need to. By the time the sun began to set, the plan was forming. Was I really going to do this? Burn every bridge with my sister over a beach house? Then I remembered Kevin's sneer. Jennifer's silence. Yes, I absolutely was. Growing up, Jennifer and I had been close, or at least I'd thought so. She was 3 years older, always the golden child. I was the quiet one, the bookish kid fascinated by sea life, After earning my doctorate in marine biology, I'd landed a position at the South Carolina Aquarium, working in sea turtle conservation. The job wasn't glamorous, but it meant something. I'd bought the beach house outright from foreclosure and spent 6 months renovating it alone. Jennifer visited once, called it cute, and left. Still, I'd given her a spare key because she was my sister. I trusted her. That trust had clearly been misplaced. I checked into a hotel 20 minutes from the house, spread the deed, insurance, and every paper across the bed. Then a text from Jennifer lit up my phone. "Why are you being so difficult? It's just one weekend. Kevin's family thinks you're crazy." I stared at it, jaw clenched, then turned off my phone. The next morning, I drove back to Charleston to meet Gregory. Milavier. Calm. Methodical. In his 50s, he listened silently, then said, "You could call the police for trespassing, but since your sister has a key, that complicates things. What's the other option?" He smiled faintly. "We make them very uncomfortable." I leaned forward. "I'm listening." By noon, the plan was in motion. Legal. Clean. Devastating. I wasn't breaking the law. I was enforcing my rights. All I had to do was wait. At 3 p.m., my phone rang. Gregory's calm voice. "It's done." Jennifer called 12 minutes later. Panicked. "Claire, what the hell did you do?" "The power's out, the water's off." "Well," I said, "I'm the account holder. I suspended service. No point paying for unauthorized guests. You can't do this. Kevin's parents are elderly. They're welcome to leave any time. In fact, that's what Kevin told me yesterday. Wasn't it? Get the hell out." Her breath caught. "Mom and Dad will hear about this." "Good," I said, and hung up. For the first time in years, I felt powerful. Kevin called next, his voice a storm of rage. "You spiteful witch. Do you know what you've done? My mother has a heart condition. She needs air conditioning." "Then perhaps," I said evenly, "you should take her somewhere with air conditioning. Maybe a hotel. This is your fault. You're putting people's health at risk because you're having some kind of tantrum." "No, Kevin. You put people's health at risk when you decided to occupy my property without permission." He sputtered threats about suing me, but I didn't flinch. "Good luck," I told him. "I've already filed a formal trespass notice with the sheriff. You have until 6 p.m. to vacate. After that, law enforcement will handle it." I hung up. My parents called next. My mother's voice was trembling with disappointment. "Claire, sweetheart, this isn't like you. Can't we calm down and work this out?" "There's nothing to work out," I said flatly. "Jennifer gave away my house. Kevin ordered me out. I'm enforcing my rights." My father chimed in. "Cutting the power and calling the police. That's extreme. Would you let strangers stay in your house without asking? Jennifer isn't a stranger?" My mother argued. "She's your sister." "She was," I said quietly, "until she chose Kevin over me." They had no answer for that. At 5:30, I parked down the street from the beach house, watching from the shadows. Cars were being loaded. Kevin's father gestured wildly. Kevin slammed a cooler into his truck, and Jennifer stood on the porch, arms crossed around herself, smaller than I'd ever seen her. For a fleeting moment, I almost felt pity. Then I remembered her silence when Kevin told me to leave. At exactly 6:00, a sheriff's car pulled up. The deputy spoke briefly with Kevin, then began ushering everyone out. No yelling. No arrests, just order. I watched as Jennifer climbed into Kevin's truck, not looking back once. The deputy came over. "You the owner?" "Yes." "Sire. They're gone. You might want to change the locks." "I will. Thank you." When he drove off, I finally stepped inside. The silence was heavy. My sanctuary violated. I walked through, documenting everything: wine stains on my white carpet, cigarette burns on the deck, Dirty dishes and empty bottles in the kitchen. Upstairs. My chest tightened. Someone had been in my bedroom. My bed was unmade. Drawers open. And my jewelry box sat ajar. My grandmother's pearl necklace gone. That necklace was everything. My grandmother, the only one who truly understood me, had given it to me on her deathbed. I called Jennifer immediately. What now? Claire, she sighed. My grandmother's necklace is missing. That's ridiculous. Nobody stole anything. It was there yesterday. Now it's gone. Who was in my bedroom, I don't know. Maybe you misplaced it. I laughed bitterly. Right. I misplaced it. Jennifer, I'm filing a police report. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. She scoffed. You've changed. No. Jennifer, I just stopped being your doormat. An hour later, a police officer arrived, a kind woman named Deputy Walsh. She documented everything, took photos, and listened carefully as I explained. When I showed her proof of the necklace's appraisal and photos, she nodded grimly. We'll investigate, but without a confession or clear evidence, it may be tough. After she left, I spent hours scrubbing every surface, washing away the remnants of other people's disrespect. My anger only grew. By midnight, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Claire. It's Melissa, Kevin's younger sister. We'd met a few times, and she was the only decent one in his family. I just wanted to say I'm sorry, she said softly. What Kevin did was wrong. I wasn't there. But I heard. Thank you, I said. You're the first person who's said that. She sighed. Kevin's been having money problems. Big ones. Jennifer doesn't even know how bad it is. He's been trying to borrow from everyone. I wouldn't put it past him to do something desperate. After the call, I sat in darkness, heart pounding, desperate, broke. It made sense now, the house. The entitlement. The arrogance. The next morning, I woke to 17 missed calls. My mother. My father. Jennifer, all demanding. I dropped the police report. Not one apology. Around sunrise, a car pulled into my driveway. Jennifer. She climbed out looking exhausted. We need to talk, she said. So talk? I should have asked before giving Kevin the keys. I should have stood up for you. Yes, you should have. But calling the police over a necklace, Kevin could lose his job. Then he shouldn't have stolen from me. You don't even know it was him. Then tell him to prove it. Let him open his house. His car. If he's innocent, he'll have no problem. Her tone hardened. Fine. You want to play hardball, Mom and Dad are changing their will. Everything goes to me now. You're cut out. The words barely stung. That's their choice, I said quietly. But you made yours too. Now live with it. She stared at me, speechless, then turned and left. For the first time, I didn't cry. I just felt free. 3 days later, my phone rang. Deputy Walsh again. Miss Claire, can you come to the station? We've had a development. At the station, a detective introduced himself as Detective Barnes. We received an anonymous tip, he said. Pawn shop in North Charleston. We found your necklace. He slid a photo across the table. Kevin on camera, pawning my grandmother's pearls. I stared at it. Numb. That's him. We've issued a warrant, the detective said. Grand larceny. He'll be arrested within 24 hours. As I drove home, the weight of it all hit me. Kevin arrested. My family imploding. And somehow, I was the villain for standing up for myself. My phone rang before I even reached home. It was my mother, her voice trembling with panic. Claire, what have you done? The police just called Jennifer. They're arresting Kevin. How could you do this to your own family? I parked in my driveway, closed my eyes, and took a slow breath. Mom, Kevin stole from me. He took something irreplaceable and pawned it for cash. Let it go. Claire, she pleaded. Family is more important than things. Is it? I asked quietly. Because when Kevin was stealing from me, he didn't think family was important. When Jennifer gave away my home, she didn't think family was important. And you, right now, you care more about appearances than justice. You're making it worse, she cried. Kevin has 2 children. You're putting their father in jail. No. Mom. Kevin put himself there when he committed a felony. Claire Marie, she snapped, using my full name like I was a child again. I'm your mother. I'm telling you to drop the charges. Something in me broke. Or what I asked coldly. You'll cut me out of the will. You'll stop talking to me. Go ahead. I'm done pretending blood means I have to accept being treated like garbage. I hung up and blocked her number. Then Jennifer's then Kevin's. One by one. I erased every voice that had made me feel small. That night, I sat on the deck of my beach house with a glass of wine, the sound of waves crashing softly against the shore. For the first time in years, there was silence. No guilt. No noisy. Just me and the ocean. Footsteps sounded on the stairs. I turned, ready to call 911 if needed, but it was Melissa. I'm sorry for showing up, she said, voice hesitant. You weren't answering calls. I just wanted to say, I think you did the right thing. I gestured for her to sit. She looked exhausted but sincere. Kevin was arrested this morning, she said. Jennifer's losing her mind. My parents are furious. The whole family's blaming you. I figured, I said softly. For what it's worth, I think Kevin needed this. He's gotten away with everything his whole life because no one ever stood up to him. You did. I smiled weakly. That seems to be a minority opinion. Only among those who benefited from his behavior, she said. The rest of us. We've been waiting for someone like you. Then she hesitated. There's something you should know. Kevin's in deeper trouble than you realize. When he got arrested, Jennifer went through his office. She found bank statements, emails he's been embezzling from his job. Around $50,000. He blinked. What he's been altering expense reports, manipulating payments. His employer's auditing everything now. He's in serious trouble. I sat back, stunned. Does Jennifer know? She knows. Melissa said. She's torn part of her still wants to protect him. But I think she's starting to see who he really is. My parents are telling her to stand by him. Of course. I looked out at the waves. Their rhythm steady and eternal. What happens now, prison? Probably. Between your case and the embezzlement. He's facing years. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt tired. All of this chaos had started with a single act of disrespect. A man yelling at me to leave my own home, and now entire lives were unraveling. Do you think I did the wrong thing? I asked quietly. Melissa shook her head. No. You did the only thing you could. If it hadn't been you, it would have been someone else. Better now than later. I stared at the horizon. The last traces of sunlight fading. My parents hate me. They'll get over it. Or they won't, she said softly. But Claire, you can't set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You deserve respect. Her words lingered long after she left. The next few weeks blurred with legal updates and awkward whispers around town. Kevin's arrest made local news. Colleagues at the aquarium tried to act normal, but I caught their glances. My research partner said gently one morning, I heard about your brother-in-law. That must be hard. It is what it is, I said, focusing on work. During those weeks, sea turtle nesting season began a time that always grounded me. Long nights on quiet beaches, protecting eggs from predators. Nature didn't care about gossip or betrayal. Life went on. Then one afternoon, Deputy Walsh called again. Kevin's lawyer wants to discuss a plea deal, she said. What kind of deal? He'll plead guilty. Pay restitution for the necklace and damages to your property, and accept probation for theft. It would stay on his record. He hesitated. Did I really want him in prison longer? Or was this enough? Let me think, I told her. That evening, As twilight fell, a knock sounded at my door. I opened it to find Jennifer standing there. She looked hollow dark circles, tear-streaked cheeks, thinner than I remembered. "Can I come in?" she asked. I almost said no, but something in her eyes stopped me. She sat on my couch and broke down. "I'm sorry, Claire. You were right about everything about Kevin. About me. I thought I was protecting my family. I was just helping him destroy it." Her words came in gasps. Kevin lied to me for years. About money. About everything. I didn't see it because I didn't want to. I defended him when I should have defended you. I sat beside her, silent. For once, she didn't fill the silence with excuses. "I don't expect forgiveness," she whispered. "But I needed to tell you I finally see what I did. I hurt you because I couldn't face my own failures." I looked at her, the sister who once braided my hair before school, who now sat broken in my living room. "I forgive you," I said quietly. Her eyes widened. "Would I forgive you? Not because it's okay, but because holding on to anger is exhausting. And I'm tired. You're my sister, but loving you doesn't mean I'll let you hurt me again." She nodded, tears spilling again. "Can I call you sometimes?" "Yes," I said after a pause. "But this time, it has to be equal. No more taking advantage. No more guilt." "I understand. I'll do better." After she left, I sat in silence again. For the first time in months, the air felt lighter. I called Deputy Walsh the next morning. "I'll accept the plea deal," I said. "Let him pay. Let it go on his record. That's enough." The embezzlement charges, I knew, would handle the rest. 2 weeks later, I stood in my beach house again. Fresh paint on the walls, new locks on the doors. A quiet hum of peace where chaos had once lived. I'd hired professionals to deep clean every corner, to erase the smell of strangers and restore the place to the sanctuary it was meant to be. The sea breeze drifted through open windows, carrying the scent of salt and freedom. As I made coffee that morning, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. "Claire, it's Melissa," came the voice on the other end. "Hey, Melissa," I said, smiling slightly. "How are you? I wanted to let you know Kevin took the plea deal for the embezzlement case. 2 years in minimum security, 5 years probation. Jennifer filed for divorce yesterday." I leaned against the counter, letting her words sink in. "How's she holding up better than expected?" Melissa said. "She moved into an apartment. I got a job as a medical receptionist. Mom and Dad aren't speaking to her because she left Kevin. But honestly, she's better off." I smiled faintly. "She deserved peace." "You both do," Melissa said. "Anyway, I'm planning a girls' weekend next month, just some friends. No family drama. Would you come?" I looked out the window at the ocean. "I'd like that. I really would." After we hung up, I took my coffee onto the deck and watched the sunrise turn the water gold. My phone buzzed with messages from work friends inviting me to lunch. A conference. A new project. My life was moving forward, not the life I'd planned, but one that was mine. The necklace, now returned and polished, sat in my jewelry box upstairs. But I realized I didn't need it to remember my grandmother's lessons. Stay curious. Stay strong. Those words were carved into me. 6 months later, a letter arrived from the district attorney's office. Kevin's trial had concluded 3 years in state prison. Parole possible after 18 months. I read it twice, then filed it away in a drawer. I rarely opened. Life had gone on. The beach house became my haven. I spent weekends hosting small gatherings, colleagues, friends. Melissa and her circle. We drank wine, shared stories, and laughed. Not because we had to, but because it felt good. Jennifer called occasionally. Her voice was lighter than I remembered. She'd finished a medical coding certification, gotten a better job, and her kids were thriving. She'd stopped defending Kevin, stopped pretending his sins were hers to carry. I was so busy protecting him. She told me once that I forgot to protect myself. She'd grown in ways I hadn't thought possible. My parents, on the other hand, they were still a wound that hadn't fully closed. They called occasionally awkward conversations that danced around guilt without ever naming it. I kept them at arm's length. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting. Then, one Tuesday afternoon, my phone buzzed again with an unknown number. I was at the aquarium, mid-presentation about sea turtle migration. I ignored it. The same number called during lunch. And this time, I answered, "Hello, Claire. This is Attorney Hoffman. I represent Kevin in his criminal cases. He's requested to speak with you." I froze. Why would I want to talk to him? He says he has information you need to hear. About the weekend at your beach house. About your parents. My stomach tightened. If I agree, it's by phone only. "Of course," he said. "I can arrange that." We scheduled the call for that Friday evening. When the time came, I sat on my deck with a glass of wine, the sun bleeding into the horizon. The prison operator patched the call through. "Claire." Kevin's voice came through, hollow and tired. "Thank you for taking my call." "I'm here," I said coolly. "Talk." He hesitated. "What I did was wrong, stealing from you. Lying. All of it. But that weekend at your beach house, that wasn't just me." I frowned. "What do you mean? Your parents planned it. Your mom told Jennifer to give me the keys and make sure I'd be there to confront you." "That's absurd." "It's the truth," he said. "Your mother wanted to humiliate you, said you'd gotten arrogant. That the house made you forget your family. She told me exactly what to say to push your buttons. She thought if she broke you down, you'd sell it and split the money with Jennifer." My blood ran cold. "You're lying." "I'm not. Think about it. Claire, why would Jennifer hand me your keys so easily? Why would everyone show up that exact weekend? Your mom orchestrated it. She wanted to remind you who held control." I stood, pacing. "Even if that's true, you still stole from me." "I know," he said. "That part's on me. I was desperate. But I thought you should know the truth about how that weekend started. Your parents used me as a weapon." When the call ended, I sat in darkness, the waves pounding softly in the distance. My heart thudded against my ribs. If what Kevin said was true, then my parents hadn't just failed to defend me, they'd set me up. I hesitated for a long moment before calling my mother. She answered on the third ring. "Claire, is that you?" "It's me," I said. "We need to talk." "Oh, sweetheart. I'm so glad you called. Were you involved in the beach house weekend?" I interrupted. A pause. Then, "What Kevin says you told Jennifer to give him the keys. That you planned the whole thing. Kevin's a liar. Claire, you can't believe anything he says. Answer the question." "Mom." Another pause. Then, quieter. "I may have suggested to Jennifer that she let them use it. I didn't think you'd actually go down that weekend. You knew I was coming," I said, my voice rising. "Well, I thought you'd be reasonable about it," she said defensively. "Family needed the space more than you did." I let out a hollow laugh. "You set me up. You wanted me humiliated enough to give up the house. Don't be dramatic." She snapped. "It's just a beach house. Jennifer has children. You're single. You don't need what?" "Mom, respect boundaries." Her silence told me everything. "I'm done," I said quietly. "Done with your excuses. Your manipulation. All of it. Don't call me again." "Claire." But I hung up before she could finish and blocked her number for good. My hands were shaking, beneath the shock. Though, there was clarity. For years I'd believed I was the problem, the one who needed to bend, to give, to be reasonable. But all along, they'd been molding me into someone easy to control. Not anymore. The next morning, I drove to Jennifer's apartment. She answered the door in yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, looking tired but calm. Claire, she said softly. Is everything okay? Can I come in? We sat at her small kitchen table. I told her everything Kevin had said, the manipulation, the plan, the truth about our parents. Her face went pale, her mouth opening and closing as the realization settled in. I suspected, she whispered. Mom pushed so hard for me to use your house that weekend. She said you wouldn't mind, that you owed us after everything the family had done for you. I knew it was wrong, but it was easier than arguing. She used us both, I said quietly. Jennifer nodded. I called her last night after you did. She tried to gaslight me, said you were being dramatic. But I told her what she did was unforgivable, that she damaged both her daughters. What did she say? I asked. She said I was choosing you over her. And what did you tell her? I told her I was choosing honesty over manipulation. For a long moment, we sat in silence, our hands clasped across the table. Then she said, her voice trembling, I'm sorry I wasn't the sister you deserved. I'm sorry I let them use me as a weapon against you. I'm sorry too, I said, for everything. But we can start over. Jennifer smiled faintly through her tears. We already are. A year later, my life looked nothing like I'd imagined. The beach house had become a home filled with laughter and light. I'd hosted research retreats, birthdays, even a small wedding for a colleague. It was no longer a symbol of isolation, it was proof of resilience. Jennifer had transformed too. She'd been promoted twice, moved into a better apartment, and was dating a kind man who treated her gently. Her kids were thriving, full of life. When they called me Aunt Claire, it was with real warmth. Kevin had been released on parole after 16 months. I heard from Melissa that he was working at a warehouse, living in a small apartment, and making child support payments on time. He'd written me a letter once, apologizing again. I read it, then filed it away, not out of anger, but because I no longer needed his remorse. My parents, on the other hand, had fallen into the silence they'd built for themselves. Their calls came rarely, always filtered through relatives. They said I was stubborn, that I should let bygones be bygones. I'd learned to smile at that. Forgiveness. I'd realized it wasn't about letting people back in, it was about letting go of the hold they had on you. The lake house they once used to manipulate us was long gone, sold to cover debts they'd kept hidden. Without me funding their emergencies, they'd finally faced reality. For the first time, I didn't feel responsible for fixing it. Then, one crisp November evening, Jennifer called. Her voice was shaky. Dad had a heart attack. He's at Charleston Memorial. He's asking for you. My heart dropped. Where's Mom with him? She said quietly. She doesn't know I called you. Please, Claire, whatever's happened, he's still our father. I went. The hospital lights were harsh, the air sterile. Jennifer was waiting in the hall. He's stable, she said. They did surgery. He wants to see you. He hesitated. I don't know if I can. You don't have to forgive him, she said gently. Just talk to him. I walked into the room. My father looked small, his body dwarfed by wires and tubes. His eyes opened, and when he saw me, they softened. Claire, he rasped. You came. I came. I'm sorry, he said, his voice breaking. For not protecting you. For letting your mother control everything. For being a coward. Why did you do it? I asked. Why let her manipulate us all? Because it was easier, he said weakly. Because keeping peace felt safer than telling the truth. I told myself I was protecting the family. But I was really protecting myself. You hurt me, Dad, I said softly. I know, and I can't undo it. But watching you walk away, build a life without us, it taught me something. You were braver than I ever was. For the first time in years, I believed him. When I left the room, my mother was standing in the hallway. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her shoulders sagging under invisible weight. Thank you for going in, she said stiffly. I didn't do it for you, I replied. She swallowed hard. Claire, I need to say something. I was wrong. About everything. I let jealousy and pride turn me into someone cruel. I hurt you because I couldn't stand watching you succeed where I'd failed. I studied her, really seeing her smaller now. Worn. Afraid. I appreciate that you said it, I told her quietly. But it's going to take more than words. Time. Change. Effort. If you're willing to do that, maybe we can find something new. But it'll never be what it was. I understand, she whispered. I left the hospital and drove back to the beach house. My friends were waiting for me with warm food and warmer hearts. We sat around the table laughing softly, the candlelight flickering against the windows. Later that night, when everyone had gone to bed, I stood alone on the deck, the ocean dark and endless before me. The wind was cool against my face. But inside, there was calm. It had started with humiliation, betrayal, and loss. But standing there, I realized I hadn't lost anything that mattered. I'd gained peace, purpose, and self-respect. Even Kevin, in his quiet ruin, had become a reminder that karma always finds its way. My parents were facing their own consequences, learning too late that control comes with a cost. I thought of my grandmother again. Stay curious. Stay strong. I had. And because of that, I was free. As the first light of dawn touched the horizon, I whispered to myself, the strongest revenge isn't destruction. It's rebuilding your life until it no longer resembles the one they tried to break. I closed my eyes, breathed in the salt air, and smiled.